Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dan Doolin with Integrity Data. I'm happy to be your presenter today to discuss everybody's favorite topic, ACA compliance. All right, got a little bit of a new theme for our webinar. And I'll explain the theme as we get started here, but it's ACA compliance, get your ACA ducks in a row. Okay, so we're gonna see these ducks that our marketing team put into our PowerPoint slide to keep it interesting throughout the webinar. So, but we're going to, the reason we phrase it that way is that ACA compliance has been around for a couple of years. Employers and ACA service providers have piecemealed solutions together, have held on to what they had to thinking it would go away. But really now it looks like that the employer mandate is going to be around for a while. And so it's time to make that process more efficient. And we're going to talk about how to do that as we go through the webinar today. So thank you for joining. Let's go ahead and get started by taking a look at our agenda for the webinar. First, we'll start with an introduction. We'll talk about ACA in 2018, what to know. We'll do a quick recap of the employer mandate, talk about what has to be done in 2018. We'll whip through that pretty quickly. We're going to talk about why businesses have turned to Integrity Data's ACA compliance solution in the past. And I'll even talk about some changes we're making in our service offerings to better help employers and those organizations that are helping employers as we move forward into this endeavor together. We'll do a quick demonstration of Integrity Data's ACA solution, and of course, we'll have time at the end for questions and answers. If you do have a question, you can put it into the question and answer box on the GoToWebinar. We will send you the PowerPoint slides as a follow-up, and we're also recording this webinar as well. All right, so let's jump into the introduction. Integrity Data, if you're not familiar with us, we've been around since 1996. In that time frame, we've helped more than 10,000 organizations worldwide improve their business processes through the use of our technology that we develop and distribute. Most of that effort has been done in the areas of payroll and human resources. A lot of that effort has been done in conjunction with Microsoft and their mid-market ERP application, Dynamics GP. Specifically with ACA compliance, we've been working with that since 2012. Kind of got our start there, helping employers track eligibility and do those calculations with the look-back periods and things like that. And then, of course, now it's full-blown reporting and getting into more complicated scenarios and so on. Last year, we helped over 1,250 employers. This will be true for 2017 reporting with ACA compliance. That's a broad spectrum number in the fact that that's not just submitting forms to the IRS. That's also helping with eligibility, eligibility forecasting, affordability concerns, things like that, and also with all of those employers filing. So the solution that you'll see today is not just a filing solution, but it's a comprehensive ACA compliance application. All right, so let's continue here. ACA in 2018, what to know? All right, so first we'll kind of start with I guess the news cycle or information that's out there, and a lot of this has cleared up in the last few months, but even as we talk to employers today, we still hear some confusion out there about what's going on with the employer mandate. Several attempts to eliminate the employer mandate out of the Affordable Care Act. Again, none of those were really successful as it relates to the employer mandate, several repeal attempts and so on. But then as part of the tax bill that went into effect here recently, that was a repeal of the individual mandate, or I guess a removal of the penalty or the tax associated with the individual mandate, since gutting that out. But again, that has no impact on employers' responsibility and their requirement to offer affordable coverage to eligible employees. Okay, so as employers and as organizations that are helping employers stay compliant with the Affordable Care Act, our job really hasn't changed from that perspective. All right, so best advice going forward as we look at 2018, the best advice is still stay the course and be compliant with the employer mandate. What's changed versus this message last year is that we started to see penalty letters, probably in the fall, started seeing penalty letters and employers getting hit with penalty letters and some pretty steep penalties. So I think we'll see that probably increase from the perspective of non-compliant employers being penalized. We've had interactions. We're working with an employer right now who has not filed for 2015, 2016, or 2017. They signed up with us a couple of weeks ago, understanding that they're in a bad position. And so we're trying to get them completed and caught up to avoid a 226J letter, which is what we call a love letter from the IRS without any love. It's just a penalty notice. All right, so stay the course, get compliant, get your ducks in a row, get efficient at it, get good at it so that it's not a burden on employers, but able to efficiently and productively stay compliant and avoid the penalties. Expertise in automation a lot of times is needed to help employers with that. Certainly we're in a position of providing both of those to the employers that we're working with and have been working with for several years. Right, the employer mandate, the good old legal disclaimer here is this is not the end-all be-all PowerPoint slide deck on the employer mandate, but we're trying to provide you with some helpful information. Who needs to be compliant? Of course, it's 50 or more full-time equivalents. Is an applicable large employer. Need to be determining that status each year if you're close. Two main points of the employer mandate are the coverage mandate, which is offering the coverage to the employees at the right time. So tracking eligibility, especially for variable hour employees, and making those offers of coverage at the right time. The second part of that is reporting that you did that. So the reporting part of it is where most organizations are focused on. And I think this year we saw an improvement in the balance between not doing anything throughout the calendar year and then at the end of January starting to think about ACA compliance again. That was the case last year and in 2015. This year we started to see employers be a little bit more prepared for the year end. There's also a little bit of an advancement in the education now that we've done this for 3 years, that employers were a little bit more prepared and had done a good job doing so. But my advice is always, if you do the first part of this, the coverage mandate well throughout the year, it makes the reporting much easier. All right, why comply? Well, that's pretty easy because it costs a lot of money if you don't. Okay, so and as some employers are learning that the hard way now as they get those 226J letters. All right, what has to be done in 2018? Of course, continuously tracking hours of service, offers of coverage, and so on. We have a checklist available that you can download and even print out. It's in an infographic form. Monthly, keeping track of full-time employees, offers of coverage, and I would put in here, paying your employees, because that's the data structure we're going to use, payroll data. And annually, of course, determining your ALE status, the 1095Cs, the 1094Cs, and just staying on top of everything. All right, looking way ahead, the filing deadlines for next year predicted will be the same structure, end of January into February and April 1st. This did work pretty well this year to have the filing deadline for 1095Cs in March. It just helps employers avoid that crunch. Obviously what you see is that you get to the W-2s done middle of January, end of the third week of January, then shift right over to 1095Cs. But several employers that we worked with that were done in January, which was great. A lot of employers got done the middle of February. We didn't have a huge crunch or huge backlog this year, which is easy for me to say. If you talk to a couple people on our support team, they may give a different answer, but generally speaking, the process went pretty smoothly this year, which was nice. All right, shifting gears a little bit, now taking a look at what integrity data provides and why organizations take a look at the solution that we provide. All right, first of all, it's easy. We always get positive feedback on the ease of use of the solution that we provide. Get going quickly. It's a hosted solution on Microsoft Azure platform, so it's very easy to get to. You don't have to install anything. We send you a login. It's very secure, and you get going on it. Works with any payroll/ERP system. It utilizes payroll data. Very easy to get data into the system through the upload process, which is part of the user interface. Automated 1095-C coding. That's a big one that should be in 48 font or something huge, simply because you don't have to track the codes for the individual employees. The system generates the codes based on your configuration and the payroll data that you supply it with. So it knows when employees are eligible, it knows what you offered, it knows the attributes of the plans that you offer, and it knows whether or not employee is enrolled in one of those plans. Pretty simple. And that's all determined from payroll data and the rules built into the system, and can generate those 1095-Cs for you. That's a big one. Step through year-end process. It's wizard driven. Handoff of year-end forms. You can print them yourself. You can have us print them. We can e-file with the IRS. You can email the 1095-Cs to the employees, and it's all coming out of one system, so it's very easy to do. A new feature that we're working on and have done for some employers is the full service options. So for example, I called an employer last week, just somebody that we'd interacted with before, and just said, hey, how you doing with ACA? We're able to get it done. And the response was, boy, I'm glad you called, because we haven't touched it. And our HR person left. I don't know how to do it, and the payroll person doesn't know how to do it. Can you help us? And my response was, well, yes, what we're doing is we're starting to offer some full service options, which means we'll request that you send the data and we'll ask you for some information, but we'll go through this. We'll use our system, of course. We'll plug it all in. We'll generate your forms. We'll ask you to approve them, and then we'll print and mail them, and we'll even do the e-filing with the IRS for you. So it's something employers have been asking us a lot about. We've been a little bit gun shy at doing it, but if you have the right checks and balances in place, we're not taking the responsibility for the accuracy, but we're going to take the responsibility for the legwork. So we'll go through the process. We'll push the buttons for you, but we'll have you approve the results and manage the process for you. So it's a great offering. We did that for a handful of customers this year. They loved it. Big help to them, and it works out well for everybody. So that's something that we're looking at. So if that's something you're interested in, something you've been struggling with, you're short-staffed, you don't have the expertise, whatever, you just hate doing it, which is fair enough, then we'll be happy to help you with that. So talk to us more about that. Right, so the solution that is easy, and working with integrity data is generally pretty easy. It's a comprehensive solution. As you can see, everything from eligibility tracking and forecasting all the way around to e-filing, and our ACA Fluent support, great team. One of our support people on our team members, or customer care team members, is Gary. He's earned a couple of nicknames from his ACA customers that he works with. Grandpa Gary or Gare Bear. So, but it's just the way that, and this is just part of our culture, the way that you handle customers and their concerns and help them through those situations. ACA is an area where a lot of people have needed extensive assistance, and we've been happy to provide that. Proven and reliable. Of course, got some great customer testimonials up here. That's what everybody's striving for on our team. From an employer's perspective, you're striving for, and your goal is to have an experience like this related to ACA, and so we're all on the same page in achieving that. Now, the solution that we provide is affordable. Affordable is always a fun topic, because to some people, affordable means free. From my perspective, affordable means I got what I needed at a valuable price. And it was, there's a good value analysis. Reduced my risk. I didn't have a penalty. had access to expert information. I could, you could sleep better at night, that whole analogy. So it's true with anything. If you're dealing with you don't always take your car to the most expensive mechanic because you don't know how many trips that's going to entail. You might pay a little bit more money to make sure that it's done right and done well, and that you've got a competent resource on the other end. And that's really where we're shooting at. We don't want to be the least expensive. We don't want to be the most expensive. We want to be the most viable. All right, Integrity Data's ACA compliance solution demonstration time. All right, so when I switch over to the demo, there will be no ducks there. Maybe that's okay, but so it might, anyway, let's take a look here. So welcome to Integrity Data's ACA compliance and reporting solution. Here we have the dashboard. The dashboard is like every other dashboard that you see. It gives you quick access to important information. Got the to-do list, data uploads, some key indicators. And then you've also got access to Integrity Data's ACA user group, which just helps make sure you're going through the process. During the peak season, we have user group meetings every week, which is members of our team, Gary, Keith, Mike, Lori, whoever from our customer care team, giving tips and tricks, walking you through specific processes for the year end and so on. And then throughout the year, the rest of the year, we do those monthly. But those are part of your, included in your subscription to our services. Then we also have quick access here to the blog posts, to the tweets, and also our contact information. All right, so what you'll see in this system is everything is very transparent. It's very accessible. It's real time. There's no uploading data and waiting for a notification for a couple of weeks before you can take another look at your dashboard. Everything is right there in front of you. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to give you a real quick overview. We'll talk through a couple of key points, and then we'll show you some eligibility reports, and then also we'll do some 1095Cs and that sort of thing. Right, so the configuration process, I'm not going to go through the whole process. It is wizard driven, which is nice, but you've got setting up all of your companies. If you have multiple companies, your standard measurement periods, initial measurement periods, the dates associated with those, ACA information assignments, which is who gets offered what plan when they become eligible. ACA plan attributes, I'll just open this up real quick. See a couple plans I have in this environment where each row represents a year, and I can say, well, this plan is a non-qualifying plan, but it does provide minimum essential coverage, minimum value, and so on. So all those settings are maintained within the ACA system. Again, this is sort of one-stop shopping for your ACA efforts. You're not doing it in your own HR system. It's purely focused on ACA, and you're just feeding it payroll data. All right, so by payroll data, we're really referring to employee information. Okay, so we've got a list of employees here. Okay, so if I look at this employee, basic information, he's got multiple employment histories. So those multiple employment histories could be, in this example, he went from full-time down to part-time. That impacts eligibility. We see also in organizations that have multiple EINs, so within an ALE group. A good example of this is in food and beverage or in restaurant chain or franchises, where each location or group of locations is a different EIN. And so, like a store manager might go work at a different store, or in multiple cases, be actively employed for multiple EINs within the group at the same time. And that creates an interesting scenario for the 1095C, but this will house that data under one employee record, multiple employment histories, and put all that information together on the multiple 1095Cs that employee will get, having offers of coverage vary from month to month based on the hours that they work in those organizations. Complicated scenario, but we've dealt with it and have helped our employers deal with it as well. So, but you can see just as you scroll through, very easy to navigate, very easy to filter, very easy to search. If you want to find a specific employee, you can do so. Again, in this environment, I've got 326 employees. You'll see that in the lower right-hand corner. So again, very easy to get through the information that you've put in, and it's real time. Right, transactional data, payroll transaction history, very detailed, but comes out of any payroll system. So if you're running Microsoft Dynamics, QuickBooks, Paychecks, Pensoft Payroll, any of the other ones, you can take the data out of those systems and upload it into the Integrity Data System. Just a real quick utility, I'll show you how to do that. Upload and import, it's all right here in front of you. This is what's nice. This is what other employers give us positive feedback on, is the fact that everything's within their control and within their reach. They don't have to be dependent on us to upload their data if they don't want. If they don't need to be, they like to be able to do it and know it and not have to wait for us. Then there's other employers who just want to ship us the file and say, tell me what I need to do. And that's more of the full service thing that we've talked about. So either way, got it covered. All right, let's take a look now after configuration and bringing in of the data, take a look at a couple sample reports, and then we'll look at some 1095Cs, since that is always kind of the focal point. So just real quick, I'm going to run this eligibility report. I haven't run this yet this month, so if it gives me wacky information, I'll run it for some other time. Let me do one other one. Let me start with initial measurement period. So this would be for variable hour employees that have been with our organization for less than a year. They're in that initial measurement period. We've got to do a couple things. We're going to do a couple things in one report. One is that we're going to determine if we need to offer coverage to any employees that have completed their initial measurement period, or as the terminology goes, has an initial measurement period that has expired. And it's also going to provide us with a forecast of eligibility. So let's take a look here. We'll generate this to the screen. Okay, busy month last year. So here's what this is telling me. Okay, so the employees that have the red expired next to them are employees who have completed their initial measurement period. As you can see, that initial measurement period expired on 3/1. Now it's also telling me that none of those employees are eligible for offers of coverage. Easy enough. I don't have to do anything, but I know the answer. It also tells me that there are some employees later in the year who are going to have an initial measurement period that expires, and they are forecasted to be non-eligible. And the only one that's really close is this person up here who's currently averaging 105 hours per month. If they're averaging 130 or more, it'd be forecasting them as eligible. Okay, if we go a little bit different route here and do a standard measurement period report, this is going to be through September of last year. So this is telling me who would be eligible for the beginning of the stability period being on 1/1. Okay, and I can tell it to only show ACA eligible. I'm going to let it show everything here just so we can take a look. All right, so here we have all of our part-time employees. Obviously, these employees are out of their initial measurement period into the standard measurement period. Very quickly, I'm able to have a list of employees that are eligible. So, and I could have filtered this down in the options, but I didn't. So here are the non-eligible employees and the eligible employees. So you can see anything north of 130 on the average is eligible. Anything south of that, of course, is not eligible. Now, what I can do with this is I can also download this into Excel, into a PDF. Of course, I can print it and so on. All right, very easy to use, very quick results, very quick determination of who I need to offer coverage to. All right, let's go down to, well, let me go to the dashboard for just a minute. Now, when we start talking about year end, okay, that's also wizard driven. And I'm just going to show you a glimpse of the wizard so you can see it. And because I've already done this for 2017 reporting. So it walks me through the steps of verifying that I have all the necessary information. Okay. Then it runs the year-end close process. That year-end close process will go through all of the data that I have, my configuration, and all the payroll data that I've given it. It could be for the whole year. And it's going to say, okay, This employee was eligible as of this date. It's going to assume that you offered that employee coverage. It's going to know what plan you offered based on those information assignments that we saw earlier. It'll know the attributes of the plan that you offered, and also the employee's self-only cost. So in doing so, that is lines 15 and 16 of the 1095-C. It will look at your payroll data also to determine if there's a deduction and or benefit associated with the employee's pay history. Okay, so detailed transaction history. Yes, there's a deduction for this employee for February for healthcare insurance. So we're going to put a 2C on line 16. Okay, very straightforward. So what that ends up doing is populating that entire 1095-C through the year-end process, and then all we have to do is review it. All right, so let's save this for later. Let's go take a look at those 1095-Cs. First place I can look at them is in the preview component. Okay, so here's the 1095-Cs. I can do a mark all preview. There we go. Now I don't have dependents here, but if the employer is self-insured and they have dependents, that data can be brought into the system as well. It'll populate part 3. We can just scroll through here and take a look at some of these. And here's a good example of just understanding the data. No offer of coverage in January, became eligible in February, offered the plan that we saw in our plan setup, and they were enrolled in the plan. Automatically populated, all ready to go. Okay. Now, if you see a situation where you need to edit a 1095-C, which is, it does happen, we figure about 5% or less should have to be manually edited. That's typically a result of the payroll data not telling a true story, a little bit of an anomaly, situations like that. The employee wasn't terminated promptly in the system, those sort of things. But if you do need to edit, that's very easy to do. Okay, let's go back. Now let's talk about distribution of the 1095-Cs once you've had a chance to review them. And we can do that under the Utilities, 1095-C distribution. All right, so I've got a few options here. Take the 1095-Cs, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit so you can see this. Okay, they're validated. You can preview the 1095-Cs, which is where we just were. You can email them to the employees, mail them to the employees via US Postal Service, which is where we're printing them and mailing them for you, or you can just print them and distribute them yourself. They'll print on blank paper, but you've got those options for how to distribute. And as you'll see at the top, there's a mail tracking, so you can see when they're submitted, when they go out for mailing, and so on. That's all updated by our system, so you can check back on those things. All right, for kicks, let's go up to the reports and take a look at some real 1095-Cs, just so you can see it. What these do is they render into a PDF. So I'll just show you an example of those that I've already got done here. Okay. There you go. 1095-C with the instructions. Okay, you can see the SSN is unmasked in this example. It's an option when you print, mask SSN. So I think this is a different one. Yep, there you see it masked, okay, with the instructions. And these will all print, so this is printing all the 1095-Cs. This is a good example of, and then you just print them on blank paper, okay? All right, there's a couple of other reports there, like an edit report for review. There's also a dependent edit report, which helps review if employers are self-insured, and so on. So it's very easy to get to the information, to review it, to have access to it. And then, of course, once you're completed with this, then go ahead and submit that to the Internal Revenue Service, and that's going to be done under Utilities. Okay, IRS filing. Okay, this is okay. I'm going to interject some of Dan's sense of humor. Okay, so this is sort of a forewarning. This is very complicated. Select, send to IRS. Okay, it's on its way. Now, I'm not really pressing that because this is a production environment with completely fake data in it, so I'm sure the IRS would not appreciate that. I don't need them knocking on the door for that reason to say, hey, what are you doing? So now once it's submitted to the IRS, we can check on the progress of that and also get the responses. So the responses, of course, to my filing is not started because I really didn't send it, but it would be submitted, rejected, and so on. Pending is a valid value. And if there's any problems with any of the 1095Cs, they will certainly let us know. And then, of course, you can use this to correct and resubmit. Pretty easy. Again, it's all right in front of you. It's all real time. It's all, if it's a situation where, you just want to manage it, you can do so. You can use this system to manage for your own customers. So there's a couple of other infrastructure type items here that I'll mention real quick. If you're, an organization that provides ACA services. So for example, if I go down to global settings and I click on accounts, okay, I can see all of the different entities for which I'm managing ACA services. So I've got my Fabricam company, XYZ company, sample company, and ABC company. All of them are completely siloed from a data perspective. They're not affiliated or commonly controlled. They're each individual customer accounts for which I'm managing services, and I can switch over to those at any time without having to log out or log back in. I can also activate a support session if I need help from integrity data in those. If I'm providing ACA services for my customers, I can add new accounts and so on. So we've got that full infrastructure here to be employer-centric or to be what we call service provider ACA services-centric, where if you're providing services to employers as a service, you're able to do that as well and have the infrastructure in place to do that. In addition, there's also components for user management, audit log setup, and configuration for knowing who made tracking changes to the system, role management, managing data, and so on. So like we said, easy to use, comprehensive, as you've seen, proven and reliable, and affordable. All right, so that's a quick overview of the ACA system. Let me go ahead and jump back to the PowerPoint. And if you have any questions, again, please feel free to put those in the question and answer box. All right, next steps. Feel free to go back out to our website, integrity-data.com/ACA. As you probably saw there when you registered for the webinar, we have a plethora of information just about ACA in general and answers to questions about what to do for safe harbors or eligibility calculations and so on. Information about our product, video demonstrations, stories from our customers, and hundreds of blog posts. Okay, so a valuable resource for you even if you're not interested in a solution that we provide. There's a lot of great information there, so you can still use that. And of course, as you have questions, you're more than welcome to contact us because we're here to help. That's our role, always has been as an organization, always will be. So you can learn more about us at integrity-data.com. You can contact us directly by phone, 888-786-6162. And there's my contact information directly. This is me over here, not the duck. This is me over here. Dan Doolin, DW Doolin at integrity-data.com. I've been here 18 plus years and am happy to help in any way that I can. I obviously don't know everything, but we have people on our team that do. So if I don't know the answer, I will quickly get one of those to help get one of those people to help get the answer. And of course, we can all be reached at the same phone number. All right, I don't see any questions. So at this point, we will conclude the webinar. I want to thank you for your time today. I hope that this was helpful. We will reach out to you probably with just a quick phone call. In addition to the natural follow-up that you'll get from the webinar, we'll reach out to you with a quick phone call to see if you have any questions, see if there's anything to help, what we can do to help related to the solution we provide, or just getting you additional information. Again, whatever we can do to help you through the process. Thanks again. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope to talk to you soon. Take care, everyone.